What's up, guys, and welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. Now, I do have to say, we have a pretty fun topic today. We're going to be talking about big-ass monsters, which is always fun. But of course, before we do that, before we get into the painting talk and the monster talk, I just want to catch up with the co-host, Brent, see what you're up to, what you've been up to last couple weeks.
Hey Casey, thanks for checking in. You know what? Today is going to be the Army Painter Speed Paint episode. We're going to talk about that today. That's what I got today. That's what I've been up the last two weeks or so. I've been hanging out with the Army Painter Speed Paints.
Man, I've been looking forward to that too, because any competition just to like contrast paints from GW is such a good thing. Like, you know, when contrast paints came out, people were kind of skeptical. It's probably the best way to put it. And now it's like everybody loves them.
They are fun. They are fun. And of course, when they came out, I was not skeptical. I'd painted with washes before. Painting with washes is good, but there's a thickness to them. The contrast paint, that is kind of fun. But you know me, like normally I'm a pretty happy guy, but there's little things that irritate me and I complain. You know me, I complain. And so with your contrast paints, man, that's $7.80 a bottle. Oh, I'll complain about that all the way. And especially if I then knock the bottle over, then I'll really complain about it.
Spill paints bravely.
Spill paints bravely. Man, that lid, it just sticks up, and it's just the perfect lever arm to just, you know, you're moving your hand around the table. The highest thing sticking up above all your other bottles of paint on the table is the one that's open, and you just, boom, knocks it right over.
You know, I still feel like, I don't know, there are ways around that. Like,
there's,
you know.
And that kind of proves the point. The fact that there are whole industries designing holders for these stupid paint bottles so that they don't spill over every time you try to use them kind of makes the point. Yeah. I made one Instagram video, which is my best performing Instagram video of, clamping, just putting a clamp on a bottle of wash or contrast paint so that there's a little extra weight to it, a broader base that you don't knock it over every time you try to use it. And of course that Instagram video gets viewed 24,000 times, has like 100 comments on there of other ways to not immediately spill the products contained in these terribly designed bottles. Like, well, what you should do is just transfer them to dropper bottles. Well, the reason I want to talk about Army Painter Speed Paints today is that they are cheaper and they come in dropper bottles.
Right.
And it's about time.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Now, I know that there's, instant colors? Mm-hmm. That's a thing, right?
Yeah, so Scale 75 came out with their line not super long after. I mean, maybe it was like 6-8 months, something like that. They did a whole thing for them, and they basically work the same. It's the same kind of thing. They are also in dropper bottles. I've never personally used them, so I don't know how they compare.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, and like I was vaguely aware of that release, but Scale 75 is not locally available for me.
Right,
but
again,
I think
that's a big problem.
Yeah, Army Painter is at my game store. It's at the mall. Like it's at the comic book store in the mall. I can get Army Painter paints. It's at the little board game store just outside the mall. Like Army Painter, at least where I live, is available more places than Games Workshop paints. Yeah. And so that's why I think this release is really interesting. And I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you're aware, but you're going to be hearing about speed paints for the next couple of months. Here we
Goobertown
are.
Speed paints.
Well, not just for me, but this is going to be the fad that's sweeping through the hobby this month and the next couple of months. That's just the way it is. It definitely
seems like it.
It's going to be the big release for a couple of months. But yeah, it's contrast paints, but cheaper and in a better bottle. And Casey,
but the question,
you have eBay in your YouTube name, so nobody sends you anything because you buy all your stuff on eBay. But
not entirely true, but yes, I get what you're saying. See it.
Sorry, that's a little bit cruel, but Army Painter has been sending out samples of these speed paints, and it was kind of funny because like months ago they sent out 3 colors to a bunch of different YouTubers. So there was a dark brown, there was a dark gray, and a dark blue, like a dark blue gray.
I cannot thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.
The real flagship colors of the line. Yeah, the ones, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's great.
And then, like a month later, they sent out another 4 colors, where it was like I think it was yellow, orange, green, and white, I think.
I mean, at least those are a good
Those
variety.
are more, they make better thumbnails, I'll tell you that. And so there've been a few YouTube channels who've been putting out content for this. And meanwhile, I'm sitting here holding out like, I'm holding out. They'll send me the set eventually. They'll send me all the colors so that I can test all the colors so that I can actually review this set of paints. Yeah. And they finally did. There was actually a third intermediate step in there. Some YouTubers got the 10 paint kit. So, Mm-hmm. So there were some YouTubers that got a set of 3, and a month later got a set of 4, and a month later got a set of 10, which had some repeats in it. Anyway, the entire set of speed paints has 23 paints, and that came in the mail for me like a week or 2 ago. I can't remember, but so I've been playing with all those colors. And there's a lot of pretty ones in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
any particular standouts that you want to mention?
Sand Golem. So it has the ugliest bottle. It's got this little hexagon with a color swatch on it, and the color swatch just looks sand colored, like a lame like tan color.
Yellow. Yeah.
But you put it on, and it's got a lot of orange in it.
Okay.
And there's always a surprise, like, ooh, didn't expect that, because it was the underdog. I tell you, when I was looking at all the colors, like, Magic Blue is gonna be this bright, awesome blue.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But Sand Golem, man, I don't particularly like tan colors, and honestly, I don't particularly like golems either. But Sand Golem,
yeah,
it's nice orangey brown, actually. Ooh, we'll be talking about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a set of 23 paints, and it actually has a pretty good spread across the color wheel. Like, I was able to take, I just picked 12 of them that had the brightest colors, and was actually able to arrange them in a color wheel that was pretty well balanced. It goes, all the way around the circle, and, there seemed to be about the right number of paints on each side of the circle and all that stuff. So, yeah, pretty good. And then the other 11 were the less colorful but actually useful paints. Your browns and tans and your stupid dark blues. Yeah.
How many varieties of browns are there? Because I feel like contrast paint, it's like 50% brown. I don't think that's actually true.
Which are the most?
Yeah, there's
useful.
A lot of browns.
Yeah,
and I do use them, but how many are there?
Man, if you've got your quiver full of arrows strapped across your character, you get color for your quiver, color for your strap, color for your arrows. You're running pretty low on browns. You better hope that your character isn't some sort of a boar man,
Well, that's true. And I've run into that before, so.
That's what I've been dealing with all day.
There are like 6 browns on this one dude. Yeah, that's a legit concern. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only actually like 3 or 4 that I might have traded one of the orangey colors actually for a more standard brown.
Sure.
But for a set of only 23 paints, I think it's a pretty good spread. It's a pretty good spread. 3
or 4, I think, is comfortable. Honestly, like it's usually it's the arrow on the quiver is a good example, right? Because it's your leather, your quiver is probably going to be the same color as like a leather pouch or a leather backpack or something else on said model. So, but the wood color isn't necessarily going to be the same brown. So it's like, it makes sense. You need 2 or 3.
Yep.
I do think like 10 is overkill. And I wish I knew the number of the GW ones. I think there is.
I don't know the number of browns, but there are 34 colors of GW contrast paints.
Yeah, probably too many.
Yeah. And I was looking this up earlier. Games Workshop sells theirs for $7.80. The bottle is the same size, but Games Workshop's design is much more likely to just waste half of it by knocking it over and ruin your table. $7.80, but if you buy the pack of all 34 and you do the math, it's $7.80 per bottle. So you get that savings. Anyway, the Army Painter stuff, they finally just like today posted their prices for their kits, and their whole set of 23 is $99. So that works out to $4.30 a bottle. And actually, plus on top of it, there's a bottle of medium in there and a bottle of brush that's not included in that calculation.
Ooh,
so
a bottle of brush and everything, huh?
I mean, I haven't even used that yet, but
yeah.
I can't tell you if that Army Painter brush is any good or not.
I've used a lot of Army Painter
pile.
brushes.
Yeah.
It depends on what kind. Is it one of like the white handled brushes, or is it the like triangular red ones, or you know what I mean?
I don't know.
You don't even know.
These
That's
hard
fine.
questions.
So much research done here. $99 is super good though.
Yeah, I mean, $100 is still a lot of money, but it's the fact that it's close to half the price of contrast paints from Games Workshop makes you feel a lot better.
I mean,
so
it's closer to being a third of the price. Like we're closer to a third than half.
No, it's still more than
$99 for 23.
Set, there are less colors in the set. Yeah, so
well, but still, I'm just saying for a set that works for. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I remember my very first experience with contrast paints was going to a local hobby store, and this one was in New Hampshire. But going into the store, and I like carefully picking the 6 colors that I wanted to try, throwing down the credit card for like $50 for 6 tiny little bottles of paint, and I remember there are entire days of my life that I've forgotten. But I remember the walk through the parking lot to my car, feeling like I'd been ripped off, feeling like I'd been taken advantage of, and feeling an anger start to burn within me. And it's still going to this day. Contrast paints are overpriced.
I mean, look, I'm not going to say they're not overpriced, but you know what? Like, for me, I've had an entire set since they came out, and I've literally run out of 1 bottle from use, and they're all still going strong. I haven't spilled any yet. And you know what? Like, for the amount of things that I use them for, I'm fine. I feel good. Now, the Army Painter stuff sounds great. It's even better. It's cheaper. If there are any colors that are even somewhat similar and it acts the same way, then I'm 100% in. Right? Then, of course, I'll be replacing those colors with... Like, if I ever run out of the GW ones, I will replace the colors with the Army Painter ones.
That sounds...
The dropper bottle, though, does sound like a huge bonus. Yeah.
No, there was a time in my life when I thought dropper bottles were worse, because you're like, oh, you're just immediately wasting whatever drop, anything that comes out of that bottle, you're wasting. Anything that dries on your palette, that's a waste. But no. They're better. They're so much better.
It doesn't even matter at some point, like the waste amount. It's just the ease of use, right? Like
that too.
It's so much easier to just use. Like, if you're airbrushing and you put a couple of drops of paint in your airbrush, you're probably not even going to use all that paint. Like, it's a pretty good waste of paint, but it's like the application of getting that paint into your airbrush is just so much better. Like, of course I'm going to buy that And even then, like, I've got bottles that are airbrush ready paints and stuff, and I still have them, and I've used them a lot. It's like, it's not like you go through paints so fast, right? Like those GW pots, though, they dry up.
So, I don't know, what does a bottle of paint cost these days? About $4? It depends on the brand, of course, but like, so it looks like these are going to be closer to $4.50. I don't know what they're going to be sold for individually. Their 10-pack is selling for $45 with including a brush. So it looks like there's somewhere around $4.50. Maybe individual bottles will be $4.75, maybe $5.
That'd be my guess. Yeah, $4.75.
Still cheaper than $7.80.
It's so true. What's a regular Army Painter bottle, like $3.50?
Yeah, they might be pushing $4 at this point.
Yeah, so that's not far off. That's not bad.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for that. It looks like that is still a month or two away from release. But on the day that this podcast is coming out is the dropping of the review embargo for the whole set. So on the day this podcast is coming out, you're probably going to see several YouTube videos reviewing the whole set. So enjoy.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I assume you're doing one.
I am.
You are.
Yeah, we'll see if I get it done in time for dropping on review day. I don't know right now, but anyone listening to this podcast, they know.
Well, I know earlier today you were painting.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was painting a little boar man. Yes, I was painting sample models with speed paints, and I was painting a little boar man who has a quiver full of arrows, and yeah. No, a quiver full of spears, because he doesn't have a bow. Still, that's actually a harder situation, because the spears have wraps.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. They got the leather wraps, huh?
He's got a quiver with spears sticking out. The spears have wraps. He's got, like, ropes and straps all over him. And plus he's a boar, so like a fool, so I painted his fur brown just to take one of those off of my palette already.
Like, do these browns go together? We'll find out.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Maybe
Okay.
I'm gonna have to break down and sneak like one GW contrast paint in there for like one extra brown. I don't know.
Right, get your 8th brown in there just in case.
Yeah. But no, I know Dana Howell has been doing some comparisons with actual contrast paints, and I think she's having the speed paints actually be slightly better in some categories, in most categories, I think. But my experience has been very similar to contrast paints.
I mean, to be fair, they've also had, 2 years to...
oh, sure.
To iterate. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense, right?
Yep.
Like, they would fix the complaints or try and fix some of the issues that people had with them previously. So, like, yeah, of course. Which is great. That's what we need. We need to see the improvements, and then hopefully Games Workshop will then respond yet again, and the cycle continues, right?
Right. And the reason I'm excited about this is because of competition. Because there was a product that one company had that no one had a great competitor for, and now there is, and that's awesome. Exactly. And this competitor is close to half the price, so that's even more awesome. So
it does say a lot, doesn't it?
No, we want these. We want these companies to strive to improve things, to fight for the hobby dollars, you know?
Exactly.
And honestly, Games Workshop has made so much money off of contrast paints, and I think Army Painter is going to make a lot of money off of these speed paints too. So
I think long term, that's probably where
and good for them. It's fun. Yeah. It's fun stuff.
I mean, once you get like a grasp on how contrast paints work, and I'm sure people are still just going to call them contrast paints. I don't know, what does Army Painter actually call them?
They're called speed paints.
Oh, just speed paints. Okay.
Yep. Or speed paint.
That's nice.
Speed paint line, speed paints. Yeah.
Still, like once you get a grip on how they're used, like you really can definitely speed paint some stuff and like make it look good. And I do like that a lot. Like there's just some fun things you can do with that, and then just like even coming back in after it's dry with a brush to make everything look better. It's like, well, you just did your base coats in 10% of the time.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're doing. You're base coating in a very fast amount of time.
Yeah. No, I've been having fun with it. You do have to be careful if you're trying to do entirely contrast or entirely speed paint. You have to be careful not to, mess up your base coat of the next thing you're going to paint. Or,
sure.
Got to keep all those white areas until you're actually doing that color. But and depending on what the model is, that can slow things down. But yeah, if you just want to get all the cloth or all the power armor one awesome shade and then move on to regular paints, yeah, it's a good tool for the toolbox. I'm glad there's competition. Then just plus, I think we're all going to be hearing about it for a while, so we're getting in early. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I don't even have any. That's annoying.
Well, maybe the next time I see you, I'll try to sneak some in my suitcase.
Right. I did want to point out that other companies have sent me things. I have this lovely Red Grass Games wet palette. Thank you, Red Grass Games. Just throwing that out there.
Uh-huh. I have one too.
Yeah, I actually really like it. I do. Good kitty. Is that all you've been up to? You just been, I guess you're in the middle of making a huge long form breakdown and reveal of the Army Painter speed paints.
I've been making other little discoveries, and I've been leading to TikTok videos. So one thing I did is I filmed a time lapse of paint drying, actually several of them.
I saw those, yes.
Yeah, so that's fun. So I wanted to see how the pools of the speed paint, how it runs and pools. I wanted to see if those dried to look stupid or not. And so I just set up my camera in front of the model drying and turned the camera on for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And we kind of train ourselves to be really concerned when we have a big pool of wash, because that can do these weird coffee staining things, and it can dry into these just nasty weird patterns. If you have a big pool of wash like that. And in this case, that didn't really happen. The biggest pool of washes, they went fully opaque, and so there's nice transition, and then just kind of a fully opaque block. But it didn't do anything worse than that.
Well, and from what I remember seeing it was in the middle of the belt buckle, it was fully opaque, and it's okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
it wasn't in a weird spot. It wasn't just open on the huge flat panel.
It's in the natural spot, and maybe you would want a thinner line of really dark there, and so it ended up being a thicker line because you had too much of the wash on there when it started drying. But it behaves really well. I found that there's no, as it was drying, it's not leaving white spots anywhere where the wash is pulling back away from tips of spears or anything like that. Sure. Spikes.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Because painting with other washes, I've definitely had that happen where, Secret Weapon, rest in peace, but that would happen a fair bit of, the wash would dry over the white base coat. It would kind of pull away from some of the high points and leave the tip of a spike, just a little dot of white up there, a little triangle of white up there. But whatever formulation Army Painter has here, that wasn't happening. I tried it on matte finish white primer. I tried it on gloss finish white primer. Works, if anything, better on gloss, like a sharper or more dramatic transition from from light color to dark color.
Interesting. So then I could see that for people who really enjoy glazing, like you were saying that Dana Howe somewhat prefers these to contrast, then that makes a lot of sense, because now the color is actually sticking at a certain intensity and then getting stronger when you place it in the area that you want it to be stronger. Like when you finish your brush stroke at the bottom and it pools there, it's that's supposed to be stronger. Mm-hmm. But now these are actually behaving in that way and not wicking away and leaving white paint left over. Because that is a problem with contrast paint. If you're you have to get the consistency just right to glaze those on to make it I'm just tinting this color and it's not like pulling away from. So I can see that. That's nice. A little more stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's see how that'd be useful.
What else did I do? Oh yeah, I did one other TikTok video, not quite as good, but
not as good as paint drying.
Not honestly, no.
So good.
Okay, so I tried loading up the airbrush with this stuff, and I know some people are like, "Oh, you get these really fine tints with contrast paints if you want to be messing around with trying to pour stuff."
Honestly, that's all I care about.
Okay,
is what it does through the airbrush.
Okay, this is something you care about. That's cool. And so I was trying that, and yeah, I had some white models. I was able to tint them to be red or blue or whatever. Cool. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I just go full blast? Why don't I just use this muscular thumb and just pull all the way back on this trigger and go full blast to the airbrush? And I squirted this wash on hard. So it's actually like a wash. Like there's too much liquid on there. Like it's not drying immediately. Like there's liquid pooling everywhere on the model.
Yeah.
And it looked awesome. It honestly looked better than putting it on with a brush. Like
that's
so
pretty good.
I'm kind of curious about doing this with other washes now. It's still faster to pull out a brush than to turn on your compressor and load up your airbrush and clean up your airbrush. But it was so much fun just to use the airbrush for 5 seconds to put wash on a model that would realistically take 90 seconds with a paintbrush.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but anything you can do with an airbrush is honestly just more fun. So.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, just pulled way back on the trigger. There's wash all over the model right away, and it dried like perfectly. It's like a perfect it's the perfect test model for what happens when you're trying to put the speed paint on. And I don't know. I've been running stupid tests. That's what I'm trying to say. I've been running stupid tests with these speed paints, making a video about it. While you're listening to this podcast, maybe you could watch that video now. Depends.
Yeah. If you're on your phone.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you talking about your TikTok video? You need more people.
To join I'm recruiting. I'm trying to get people to follow me on TikTok.
Oh man!
Actually, our episode a couple weeks ago, I got some followers. I'm up to like 60 followers on TikTok.
All right, all right. There we go.
So you got to keep promoting that. Drive up those
Good job,
numbers.
People. That's great.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting over here just like TikTok. Yeah, that's great, Brent. That's great. You want to know what I did?
I do.
I did this. Computer, turn on my airbrush. Okay.
To be fair,
I'm sure that didn't come across
disclosure,
exactly.
Both of Casey's hands are off screen from where I'm looking at him. Hold on, can I try it?
No, because you're in my headphones.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's your voice does not travel.
I need to scream really loud, Casey.
It would hurt my hearing. Yeah. See, I changed Alexa to the other thing so that you when you're talking about Alexa, it doesn't just go off, right?
Right.
Of course, then when you say computer in any capacity, it just goes off anyway. So it's 6 1 half dozen the other.
Living in Star Trek over here. That's awesome.
That's what it makes me feel like, and honestly, that's where I want to be. So yes, that's what I have all of my smart stuff set to, and it's awesome. So you were talking about, getting the airbrush, having to turn that thing on. It's like, not for me, man. I just tell my computer to do it, and it turns on. Yeah, not useful whatsoever, really, but really fun to do. Just adding more fun to the airbrush.
You hooked up your Alexa to a power strip? Is that what I'm hearing?
It basically, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I did. To one single outlet. It's just one outlet. Yeah. I really, honestly, okay. So the story is like, I was on Amazon and they're like, oh, hey, we're doing a special right now for smart plugs. 99 cents, you get one. Normally they're like $20 or something like that for the like Amazon branded one. I was like, oh, for $1, sure, I'll buy that. And then it got here and I was literally walking around my house with this plug. Like, I have nothing to plug in that I would want to have voice turned on. Like I had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't think of anything. And then I was like, oh, my airbrush. That makes the most sense because no reason at all. It's just in front of me.
99 cents is worth it for the laugh
yes.
we've all gotten now. Yeah.
For the novelty of being able to do that with my voice, yes, for sure. I had it hooked up to a 3D printer the other day. That was fun. I got that on video too, so that I could just turn it on, you know. So that's going to be in my video next week, whenever. It's coming out soon. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Maybe you
smart
should
plugs
start
are pretty
TikTok.
fun, but you really
better
realize
than anything
that you
I've
have
made.
like nothing to power anymore, unless you have
Lighten
lamps
up your
for no
airbrush
reason.
like that. That'll be a good TikTok video.
Yeah,
I believe in you.
interesting.
Uh-oh. Casey, where'd you go? Casey, my main
Poor
man.
connection.
Where'd you go?
This doesn't happen very often. Brent has gone missing. This episode of Paint Bravely brought to you by Chicken in the Bucket. Merch in the description below. Thank you very much. All right, well, we had a weird drop-off, but that's okay. We're back better than ever. And we're just going to continue talking like nothing happened. Yep. Nothing happened.
All right, Casey, I asked you what you were up to, and you changed the subject by using your clapper over there. But what have you been up to?
You know what? I've been doing a lot of painting. I've been painting monsters. And I don't want to segue into the main topic just yet, but I have been painting monsters, and that's been pretty fun.
We could.
I mean, we could. That would deprive me of talking about fun things. Although, I don't know how far we are into this podcast now that we've had things happen. But I did want to mention something. Just one thing, real short. We can cover it real quick. I've been playing a lot of Star Citizen. The game that's not a game. I finally roped Brent into downloading said game. And first thing that happened was Brent couldn't find his way out of his... Or was it out of your room or the way back in?
Yeah, I spawned in a nice apartment building, and I left my apartment room, and then, the first thing I do, smart thinking, I'm like, okay, I know this game is big, I don't want to get lost. I turned around to see the room I'd just come out of, like, this is my apartment.
Yeah.
Okay, here's where I'm from. And then I clicked on the door, and I could not get back into my apartment. And, had to figure out the whole control system, how do you interact with menus and stuff. And I'm just like wailing on the button to open my apartment door. And so the very first thing I did in this game was apparently lock myself out of my apartment.
Which isn't true. That doesn't happen.
Well, be that as it may. So I did, going through all these menus, trying to figure out this extremely dense and complex game that they have been developing for 10 years, but at no point developed a tutorial for. That's true. And I did find this one option that says respawn. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll respawn on the other side of my apartment door. I'll look around the apartment, I'll find the keys, and then I'll leave the apartment again. So I hit respawn. My character immediately dies. Yeah. I fall over in the apartment hallway outside of my original spawn point.
There's just a body there now.
I guess I was in the spaceport. My spaceport Holiday Inn. I don't know if I started in a hotel room or apartment, but
technically,
anyway.
it is your living quarters in that area.
Okay,
because that's like your home base. But
so
it's
I made it like 10 feet. I opened my apartment door. I stood in the hallway of the complex.
Yeah,
couldn't figure out how to get back in. I hit the respawn button, which apparently means you die.
It means kill yourself, yeah, to then respawn.
It's pretty dark, yeah. Right outside my apartment. And then wake up in a hospital bed, in some sort of a clone body on the other side of town. And my frustration, man, I mean, you listeners know I don't like reading rule books.
Yeah.
I don't. And so my frustration meter was pretty high. So at this point, I called Casey. I was like, okay, how do I do this? But
yeah,
I'm still playing. I got to ride around on Casey's spaceship. We got impounded because Casey can't park worth a damn. But seems like a real fun game so far, Casey. Real fun game. So far.
Yeah, so I show up to the spaceport because Brent's like, I'm by the elevator to the spaceport. And he's just in a medical gown holding his spacesuit in a box. Like, I don't know what to do. So after figuring out some of the
I woke up in the hospital in a medical gown. And I checked my inventory, and I found my spacesuit, and I had no idea how to equip my spacesuit. When I double-clicked on my spacesuit, it just had me hold my spacesuit in a box in front of me. So I'm just down by the elevators, in my hospital gown, holding my spacesuit.
No, I took his spacesuit.
I did find that /dance makes you dance just like in World of Warcraft, so that,
Yeah.
Trying things, learning, trial and error.
You're just like doing the normal MMO thing. You're like /dance
/spit /clap. Yeah,
this works, right? We're sitting around in World of Warcraft, just everybody trying different ones for like an hour. It's the good old days of MMOs, people. Oh man. But yeah, I thought that was pretty fun. Like I said, I've been pretty into it. I haven't been playing that long, but I did get the dual stick set up for flying in space and feeling pretty good about it. It's frustrating, really frustrating, but it's been fun. And
so I've got a plan. I am going to be your co-pilot, which means I sit in your ship and I wait to fight off borders if we have to fight borders.
Well, yeah, which can happen. Yeah.
I'm going to be sitting at my desk painting, and you let me know if I need to pay attention to the game. Okay,
that makes sense. I like that. It's not bad. So Brent will be the useless co-pilot. Really, I did want to bring this up because I think it would be fun to have a few more people, 20 or so, just to hop in the same ship and fly around the small section of galaxy that is Star Citizen. Perhaps robbing people, perhaps helping people. I don't know, but something fun. So if you happen to play Star Citizen, just let us know, and we'll get some kind of a group going. Just throwing it out there. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of that. I've been building my Hot Wheels track, which is coming together pretty good. I think you saw a little bit of it the other day.
I did.
Yeah, it's coming together. It's coming together. So that's getting interesting. I've been putting together Space Marines for a reason that we won't talk about right now.
Okay.
And painting monsters.
Okay, it's time. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So why did we want to do this? Out of all the topics we could have chosen, we basically wrote down and put a bunch of stuff in our notes saying, why do I like to paint giant monsters? Why do we like to paint giant monsters? Why is that like more satisfying than most other things to paint?
Well, partially it's a change of pace.
Okay, I like that, yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll just get that out of the way. It's something new. Maybe you're not normally painting monsters. Okay, boom, change of pace. But here's some reasons we like them. So in that change of pace, a monster is often a one-off model. Mm-hmm. So you're not painting a squad normally. You're painting one monster, and monsters, kind of by definition, are far away from human, so they can look like almost anything.
That's true.
Yeah. And you're not in any danger of getting into any uncanny valleys or having those squiggle eyes on that Space Marine that don't look right. That's not a human face. Like that,
right.
Wait, that ain't right. But maybe that monster's supposed to have eyes that look all googly like that.
Yeah.
You don't know.
We'll go with that.
But no, for real, like a monster is a fantastical beast that can look like whatever you want to look like. And so that opens up a lot of avenues for creativity, and it also gives you a lot of escape valves for if you're messing up or having happy little accidents.
That's true.
So a painting a monster is a great way to try new things and to paint bravely, and the consequences of which normally turn out okay.
That's true. I think more often than not, it does turn out okay, even if you're not 100% sure what you're going to do. And a lot of that is that uncanny valley thing that you're talking about. I think that like a monster can be whatever it is, or whatever it wants to be. So like you got giant purple skin and whatever, like that's great. Something that I find on monsters specifically, the scale. Scale is bigger, right? It's a big monster. So doing something like painting eyes all of a sudden becomes like, well, I can paint a really good eye. Like I did that troll hag, and like legitimately best eye I ever painted in my whole life. And it's like, yes, like that's why I went to art school. Let's paint that eyeball, right? Like that's what that was all for. Yeah, like it changes the way that you can actually approach things. Like you can do different things, try different techniques. I did want to get into specifically techniques. Maybe we'll get into that after kind of the reasons and the differences, I guess.
Yeah.
But
well, just to close that out, I mean, there are lots of good arguments for painting at different scales. Yeah. So just, painting a bust or going and painting tiny troopers. Right. But especially going for like a little bit larger scale, like you're saying, that certain features become doable. Certain textures make sense to try to attempt, or on the flesh, like trying to paint some imperfections in the flesh makes sense, or, trying to really pay more attention to freckles or sunburns or whatever, wrinkles, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or the eyes.
Yeah.
So yes, the scale is absolutely a big thing here.
Did your cat just bark? Did that just happen?
It was very early in the progression to hairball. I think she's going to be okay, but she's thinking about it.
I was like, there's a dog at Brent's house? I am so confused. Anyways.
So monsters tend to be big, and so you get some scale out of that. But that's all we really need to say about scale. Painting big stuff gives you new opportunities to try things. Why don't you get into what you wanted to say about techniques?
Well, I think that again with scale, I guess is kind of along the same line. Like when you're painting something of a larger scale, you can start to try different techniques. Using your airbrush like becomes easier. It just does. You can start to actually highlight volumes with your airbrush and make them look like pretty nice pretty quickly without having to do a lot of work. Like my go-to for most monsters is to paint all of the skin like some darker color, right? Like usually like a purple is where I'm at because I like purple for monsters. It's just a monster color. And then I come over the top of it at an angle with like a lighter color. So then you get all your nice shadows are all nice and purple, but all your volumes have a nice highlight to them of like whatever the skin tone that you actually want it to be. And then you can start to shift that in all sorts of different directions and play around with that. And it's like, it already looks awesome.
Yeah.
You get like an exaggerated muscle structure and you can get some really cool looking, like super pro looking, paint jobs with almost no effort. And I find that to be pretty refreshing. Like when I approach a new project, like I painted Bellicor, the demon prince, I think is
that's what he's called.
Yeah, I think so. But I painted the old one, not the new one. And even that one, it's like, it's the same model. It's just shrunken down a little bit. It's very funny looking comparatively.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But like, he's got some good detail, and it's like, I did a few things that I knew would work really well. Like I did the whole underlighting thing. And I'll have Matt throw up the picture here so you can kind of see, because it's like with very little effort, you can get certain effects, right? So it was like, okay, well, yeah, I painted him up. He looks pretty cool. Well, now I want this like red fire from below. I want this lighting from below. So I put him on a lava base and just airbrushed him basically from below with red. And it's like, it's legit because on this monster, it's all exaggerated. So all of those pieces get picked up, and it just makes it look like I'm a much better painter than I am. And I appreciate monsters for that quite often. It makes me look like a better painter, like more.
That's a really good point. Yeah. I hadn't fully considered that, but absolutely. So recently I painted a troll.
Dude, that troll is sick.
Thank you, buddy.
Yes.
So part of that is because I learned how to do an infinite black background, but part of it is because that painting monsters allows you to do some new and interesting things. So this troll was a print from Thingiverse, and it's a cool model. Check it out on my Instagram and everything. Check out that infinite black backdrop.
Yeah.
But because it is a larger figure, I can try to do some interesting stuff with the airbrush. And, on small figures, a lot of times I'll just try to get one cool color down. Maybe do a sweet color transition, but it's not like, okay, and now I'm going to paint the abs a different color, and now I'm going to paint this feature on his back a different color, and his nose is going to be a little bit red. None of that on a tiny figure. But on a larger figure, absolutely get a sweet color transition from purple to teal,
Mm-hmm.
And then in addition to that, get a little bit of a fleshier abdomen, so load up that Caucasian skin tone and get a little bit of that onto the abs,
Yeah.
And by the time you've done that, you've got like the whole color wheel represented
real though, right?
on your model. But it kind of makes sense. Like there's a little bit of a logic to it, but yeah, you turn that model, you got a ton of different colors on there.
Yeah.
And that yeah, one thing not so easy to do on a tiny model, but also because you're working with so many colors, it's hard to really know what they're going to look like by the time you get to the fifth color down the line,
That's true. Yeah.
Just depending on how heavy your trigger finger is while you're working on purple versus the teal versus the flesh tone, you don't know where that balance is going to end up. Don't tell me that you do.
Right.
And
you can pretend.
And I got to say, it was absolutely a situation where I was surprised about exactly where we ended up with, how much of the reds and how much of the blues and greens were showing through,
Mm-hmm.
how much got left over, how much, again, just how heavy you're going on each step. But because it's a monster, it don't matter.
Nope.
It does not matter if that's more of a purple troll or more of a teal troll.
Yeah.
Have a little bit of both on there, have some cool transitions, and it's going to look sweet. As long as you're not trying to match it to some particular clan of trolls, or you're not trying to match it to
that's where it starts to get a little bit funky. It's like then your skills kind of start to show a little bit when you're trying to match something specifically and not just like the idea. For trolls, actually, I like to get kind of a generalized theme. Right, so it's like, oh, okay, well, if this is a river troll, then, we got some tans, we got some greens, we got some teals, some blues, stuff like that. And then you just mix it up a little bit. And one of my absolute favorite things to do, because, you've got this like large canvas, right? You got an open canvas. So you can think about freehand, you can think about tattoos, and you can think about texture. So if you take that like green lichen moss that you can get at like hobby shops or, I guess craft stores more like, They go in like planters, but it's kind of like they have these patterns to them, like this moss, right? It's interconnected. You can kind of tear pieces off and stuff in it. It's got like little stringy lines that come off. I like to take that, string it out as much as possible, get kind of a big piece, lay that over a section of, like, say it's like the top of the leg near the knee, right? You want to get some nice skin tone in there. Put that on top and just spray that skin tone straight through. And now you have this like cool, like almost like watery reflection, but it's not because it's still airbrushed. But you get this awesome like look through that, and it just starts to introduce all of these new textures to this, skin. It's just like you wouldn't be able to do that on a small model. So like that large monster just really does open up a lot of those types of things.
Yep. And textures, that's something that you can do with the airbrush, but it's also something that you can do with the regular brush. So what I've found is that kind of making like a mottled or dotted effect is a lot of fun on monsters. And so I did a slad a couple weeks ago. Did a slad, and that looks really good with just dots of colors that kind of intersect and overlap with each other. And I don't know, is he pimply? Is he splotchy? I think splotchy is probably the best interpretation. Does he have polka dots, or are they so small that it's kind of pixelated and you're not even really perceiving it? But yeah, I really like the way of putting little dots as texture for those overlapping colors. Yeah, and even on my troll, it looked more like kind of liver spots on my troll, but on top of oh yeah, you throw some dots on there, and actually what I had in my mind was kind of like a teal trill. What is that? What Dax is in Deep Space Nine? Yeah, trill. Yeah.
I mean, I forget what she is. The trill is the worm.
Okay, well, yeah.
But she's something else. I know what you're talking about. I get what you're saying. But she's got the spots that run.
It's a Star Trek race that has dots that go all the way down. They're on the sides. It kind of starts at the neck and goes all the way down. And so that's what I was doing. I was like, all right, teal liver spots on my troll, but like a trill. Yeah. Okay. And sure, why not? Why not? Like, it's a monster. You don't get to tell me whether trolls have a pattern of dots running down their sides. I get to tell you that because this is my troll. And trolls aren't real, so you can't compare this to anything.
That's true.
And do that for dinosaurs too. Nobody knows what dinosaurs' pelts look like.
That's true, which is an interesting thing to think about all on its own.
Right? Yeah. That's a whole other mind-blown thing right there.
Right? They were all bright. Every one of them.
Oh, they were definitely bright. T-Rexes. That's nobody is arguing that. There were no brown dinosaurs. That is the stupidest thing anyone has ever suggested.
It's the most boring interpretation of that. Like, come on. Like, let's be real here. Yeah, they're all like polka dotted, multicolored. Like this was ridiculous, and they needed to be killed off. That's why this happened.
But yeah, if you're painting up a dinosaur, you can put big old stupid cow spots on it if you want to. That's your dinosaur.
Yeah, it's your prerogative.
And maybe there's a way to make like black and white cow spots look cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I got nothing for that.
Well, you won't know till you try it, will you?
I mean, I feel like in my head,
I've got a suspicion.
Like, yeah, like I think I may already know the answer to this. No, okay. If they're like the irregular, like blobby spots, and you did it on one of those giant, like Cygors, is that what they're called? I don't know. They're basically giants, but they have like bullheads. That works. I've seen that work.
Okay.
But I think that's the only good example.
That's an option. Yeah.
Maybe a boar rider, like a boar could have, some spots on there. It's like a weird looking boar. Seen that, like Potbelly Pig style. Like I've done that before. I've used like a Potbelly Pig as a reference for painting Korgoraths. So like big pig looking demons. And that's kind of the same thing, like just changing up the colors and going off something realistic, you know, trying to match that and like working pretty good.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where if it's not quite working, like if you don't quite like it, you can then do something drastic to it. Like you can throw a really colorful wash at it. Except, oh, this isn't working, but maybe if I chuck some RE paint or speed paint, some plasmatic bolt all over everything, get that blue green.
Bolt, is that's a real name?
I think so. It's close at least.
Bright green.
Green blue, yeah.
Nailed it, yeah.
Or alternatively, if you've used too many bright colors already and it's not working, like, dark brown wash all over everything, see what happens. Or throw some, burnt umber into your airbrush, hit that from below, and then all over, like, just, yeah. You can, that's the thing, you can go nuts and really experiment with a monster, and that's why they are refreshing.
That's true. I do feel pretty good after painting a giant monster. In fact, the last couple of videos I've done have just been giant monsters. And now that I'm thinking about it, the last 4 videos I've done have been giant monsters.
Oh.
Starting to notice a pattern here.
Wait, what did you say you're working on right now?
Well, I just finished today a Bellicor.
Okay, that was today. Okay.
It's a giant demon monster, right? And I mean, okay, like the other Bellicor, the smaller one, he's pretty small. But it's still, he's got that exaggerated monster look to him. So I think that works. Mm-hmm. And then the week before was Korgorath that I converted up and painted, and that had some fun stuff on it. Although that's a whole other thing. You have to watch the video for that because it's a weird one, super weird one. But then before that, it was I think the Troll Hag or something. I don't even know, man. Like I don't know anymore. I just feel like I've been painting monsters and having a good time. So yeah.
Yes, you have.
I have been.
Yes, you have. And that's why we're doing this podcast.
Exactly. I want to paint monsters all day.
We also have here wet blending. Yeah, that's a good thing you can do with a monster.
Well, you start to, again, it's that size, right? You can actually, because, people practice wet blending on bases and stuff because it's like, okay, here's a 25 millimeter base, right? Well, if an entire muscle group on a monster is the size of a 25 millimeter base, then you're going to have a pretty good time, or probably, hopefully, practicing, getting some good wet blending techniques down. I think that's a good place to start. Monsters are more fun that way. And again, if you screw it up, it's cool. That monster has a weird looking left pec. I love it. It's totally fine.
Back from the troubles. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Something bad happened there. That's right.
Exactly. I don't know, splatter some blood on that side and be like, yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's like a story says he got bit by a flying squirrel, and that's what happened to him.
Well, that's the other thing, is that you can use effects paints on them and not care. Just, right. Blood effect, ooze. Yeah.
The ooze, yes. What do you do for ooze? How do you do the ooze?
I don't do ooze.
You don't do ooze?
No, I'm a fairly clean kind of.
Yeah, you are a clean guy. Yeah. Clean paint and everything.
But, you put some nice glossy stuff on there, even just gloss varnish. Selectively brush on gloss varnish. You can get a real wet look.
Yeah, that's fun. I do like that. I have some Yoo-hoo glue, and I thought that was the stuff you're supposed to do to make the goo and the ooze and stuff. And I've seen it 100 times, right? In all sorts of videos. Yoo-hoo glue, that's where it's at. And I swear, man, I could not make it work. I just couldn't do it. It just wouldn't work. So I don't know if it's just me or if there's a thick version or a goo version of that stuff that I just am completely unaware of. But I couldn't make it work. That's one of those things. It's on my list. It's been on my list for a long time. Same thing with airbrushing spider webs. So that's an actual thing you can do. But it's really neither here
nor there. Well, maybe someday.
One of the best things that you can do with giant monsters is make a cool giant monster base.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
But tell me about that.
So like the last few giant monsters that I've done have had a very base heavy theme to them. Like I did a resin pour on my troll hag, which is a pretty big monster. So I did this awesome looking, like swampy looking base, poured in some resin, and now she's kind of like her feet are a little bit underwater, but you can like see all the grass in there, and it just has a really cool, unique look to it. And that's with the larger bases like that, you're starting to kind of get into the like diorama territory, and it's just a lot more fun. Like you can put a lot of stuff in there, and I don't know, it usually works out pretty good. If you just some grass tufts, some rocks, a few different things, like you can kind of go nuts with that stuff. And because the scale of the monster, like it doesn't look overwhelmed by, little grass tufts everywhere. So it's a little easier to make look nice. Because on a small model, it's like, what's the rule? Like 3 items, I think, is the rule of like looking proper.
A rock and 2 tufts.
Basically,
there you go.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. Just to be
it.
Triangular and somehow specific, some art thing. I don't remember, whatever. But it does make sense to have an odd number of things on there. It looks more natural.
We'll have to do some research on that, but no, that sounds entirely correct.
Yeah, less
Except
symmetrical.
if you're putting down like a whole squad, you gotta break it up. This guy only has 1 tuft. This one has 2 tufts.
I do the 1 tuft or the 3 tuft. That's my go-to.
There
it's
you
either
go.
1 or 3.
There you go.
It. I don't do the in between. I don't do even numbers. Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. I've heard lots of things with like people saying, "Oh, you got to work in triangles." So you have focal points. You've got 3 things. The thing in the middle is your focal point. That's why you do like a lot of painting that way. It's like the 2 hands in the head, kind of thing to make a triangle. Whatever it is, to focus your attention. So if you have 2 objects and you're looking at the third thing, it's like, well, which technically are you supposed to look at? It's 2 tufts in a model. It's like, well, obviously, but it just throws you off a little bit because it looks too even, too man-made if you have an even number. So that's why you go with odd on the bases. Yeah, so I've heard.
I still think you got to throw a few twofers in there to make the squad look like the squad look natural.
That's what it is. The squad will look natural.
No,
even if
that
one guy in the corner is standing on a fake piece of land.
You got 1 figure with three objects. You throw in a figure, his partner has 1 object.
Sure.
Now your squad has 4 objects. That's an even number. So what I'm saying is, you take you get that guy with your 3 tufts.
Yeah.
You give him a partner that has 2 tufts. Squad has an odd number of tufts.
If you give them all 3, it's always okay. It's like,
I'm sorry. Oh. I'm sorry. But back to monster bases. Monster bases. You can do more than 3 things on a monster base.
That's
so you've got enough real estate to tell a little story.
That's what I'm talking about.
You've got your rock and you've got your tufts to set the scene that you're in some sort of a plane with rocks and tufts. But you've also got your dwarf head.
Yes.
You've got your dwarf shield.
Yes.
You got your dwarf axe. There was a battle here, and this monster, this troll, just killed like a lot of dwarfs because here's all this dwarf stuff. But it's not crowded. It's got enough room to breathe.
Yep.
You got enough room for dwarf head, dwarf axe, blood effects, glossy blood effects. You've got an extra pile of bones over here from like some previous dwarfs.
Right.
And but you still got your tufts and your tuft and a little flower tuft because it's actually a very pretty scene.
Right.
And it's just kind of too bad that's where a lot of dwarves died.
Exactly. Yeah. You just get past certain things of it. If you look at it from the troll's perspective, that's fine. Those dwarfs were
It's all
bad,
good. It's
people.
all good.
Yeah. Right. So a little flower. So, see, I like those little touches where, it's the dead bodies everywhere, and there's a troll standing there, but then he's got a little butterfly on his finger. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, that's
You can't
so
do
sweet.
that on a 25 millimeter base.
No, you can't tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, you can put a grot, and the grot can have a flower, and maybe the grot can have like 2 tufts, but the grot can't have a flower, 2 tufts, a dwarf head, and a dwarf axe.
No, the grot's too small for that.
Too small.
That's true.
But you get that troll.
Yes, that troll can have that scene going on all the time. And that's something I actually want to do. Like that specific scene now. I would probably put into something. The base is there to tell the story. And a bigger base tells a grander story. That's the gist of this entire thing.
So much room for activities. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. What else about giant monsters? Like, bases are good, man. Eyeballs are fun to paint. Texture is good. Stippling. There are no wrong answers. It's 100%
That's right.
true.
Speaking of Instagram photos, I've got that, infinite black backdrop. I've got that troll. You know what else I did? I cranked the colors a little bit.
Did you really?
Normally I don't use Instagram filters for my pictures because I think it's normally very obvious and normally makes it look worse than just taking a picture of your mini.
Yeah.
But for this troll, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll do a Juno. Maybe I'll do like a Claridon. Not Valencia. Not that. But
definitely a 50% Juno in there. I can see it now.
But yeah, I think that might have been it.
Welcome to Instagram, Brent.
But no, I think it was like 40 or 50% of one of them. But yeah, no, I cranked the color saturation a little bit.
You did.
And it looks
looks
good.
Really good. I was impressed. I thought that the colors were vibrant and well done and very well put together. And honestly, and more often than not, that teal just kicks it up just enough. It's the little spice on top that just really brings it all together for me.
And here's the thing, like I actually had a lot of anger at that mini because I got a lot of like dust and crap in the primer layer. I don't even know how I did it, but there's like a lot of tiny little specks of stuff like sticking onto the model.
Weird. And
I'm pretty angry at myself that I actually would have spent a little more time with it to really perfect it if that wasn't the case. But I kind of got it to the point where, I 3D printed it, and I don't know if like little chunks of stuff got stuck to it when I was curing it, or if it was in the primer or what. But there's a couple of things that are like, okay, that's a hair. That's just a hair stuck under all my paint, and I've nothing I do is gonna make that look good.
No.
And one of the imperfections is just right there in the middle of like one of the abdominal muscles. I just like, nope, there's no getting around that. So I called it good earlier than I might have otherwise. Just like, it's close enough. But the infinite black background, having all those colors on there, it really detracts from that or pulls attention away from little stuff like that.
It does.
Yeah.
It's weird. And I know we kind of talked about this in some other episode, probably the last one, but I think what it actually does is, that fluorescent effect when you point a black light at a fluorescent color and it just looks insanely like brighter than it actually is. I think the same kind of effect is going on, like non-chemical, of course, but like because there's so much blackness behind these bright colors and they're showing up so vividly. It's basically like the light is kind of making them look nicer than they actually are on that black background. And there goes Brent again. He just got up and took off. Again, another episode of this. I don't know. We should do something. Say something in the comments, maybe. We haven't done that in a while. So on the black background, it's just like they pop so much more. that they almost look fluorescent. Like if you stare at a fluorescent color long enough, you can kind of like separate the fact that it's not actually so bright, and you just go, oh well, that color is just being lit up in a different way. It's I don't know, it's a thing. You can like see it after staring at it for long enough. So like same thing with a model on an infinite black background. If you look at it just right and you start separating those colors, it's like, well, they're not actually that bright. Like the contrast isn't that great. It's just the black background is making them pop off so much that it just looks better. Where'd you go?
Snuffles had her paw caught on my desk chair, and I gave her like 30 seconds to figure it out, but no. she was gonna pop a shoulder, so
right. Just a claw, one claw. It's that one claw that's just like, I can't get it out, can't do anything.
Yeah, she's sitting in my chair, but had her claw like way up on the chair back. So like, it was just like hanging there.
I'm just gonna sit here, I guess.
She'll figure it out. And she was like moving a different way. She'll figure it out. Like, no, like,
yeah.
Come here, unhook. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I've been there. That's pretty funny when that happens. I've definitely seen cats that I've had in the past. It's just like they'll sit in the most uncomfortable position because they're like, I'm resigned to this. I'm fine. It's like, you're not fine.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm fine. I will die here. Like, all right.
I think your camera view is a little different from the camera view that goes up for the podcast on Paint Bravely, the podcast YouTube channel. But you missed the cat battle where Snuffles lost the Indomitus box to Gordon, and Gordon is now sitting in the Indomitus box.
Good job, Gordon.
Earlier in the podcast, when my distraction was not entirely with you, Casey, that's what was going on there. But anyway, we're all up to date on the cats.
As you do, yeah.
We were talking about our colors. Oh, speaking about weird little stuff, getting into 3D printed models. I took a shower the other day and washed my hair, and normally in the shower drain there's like a fair bit of hair, but this time there was normal amount of hair plus a 3D printing support.
Oh, that's awesome. Just didn't even realize it was in there. That's so good.
It's like, I mean, especially during pandemic, I go like many days without washing my hair. So
sure.
It's just like, wow.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I just might need to rethink some things.
Well, it makes me think about the hermit that has the birds building nest in their beards and stuff. But for me, it's just
your Radagast and such.
Yeah, your Radagasts. Yeah. I'm like the 3D printing version of Radagast.
Resin dripping down the side. That's pretty good. I mean, I've definitely like taken off pants and like found a bit that fell. That was like in a crevice of like down at the bottom of the leg or whatever. So it's like, yeah, okay, I've been there. Never had a 3D printing support fall out of my hair in the shower though. That's definitely a new one.
Hey, first time for everything. Yeah.
Right. Oh man, that's good stuff. The next topic is: can you take this hobby too far?
Yeah. That's a good warning sign right there.
What are your warning signs that you've just gone too far?
I may have gone too far.
Down. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it's not in there anymore.
I mean, that's good. I
a few more passes through the old hair here to make sure there's no more where that came from. Yeah.
Right. Speaking of 3D printed supports, I'm getting ready to put out a bust.
That's right.
That's right. Created by my good buddy Andy at Synerds. He's a really good sculptor. He's been working on sculpting like the last year, and he's just been getting better and better.
It looks great.
Yeah, like he made this incredible bust of my eBay Miniature Rescues logo.
Mm-hmm.
And it is insane. It's legitimately like weird to look at and to see in person. I've printed out like 4 so far. Mm-hmm. Like just cause you do. Yeah. And I'm gonna be throwing that out here pretty soon. So obviously I'll talk about it more
Nice.
as we get closer to that. But I'm pretty stoked on it. And yeah, I'm going to paint one up. I know he's painting one up too.
Oh, yeah.
I think I sent you the file already, so, you know.
You did?
Yeah,
you
eventually.
Did. Looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
Things are good.
Well, on that note.
What note? On that note? Oh, on that note, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
We appreciate you. Talk to you next time, friends.